Yes, Bhante.
Bhante.
Okay. Okay, so let us begin first. Please mute, everybody please mute your microphones, unless you're going to speak. Then when you have a question, when I ask for questions, the way to pose your question on your participant box, you'll see, I think at the bottom, an icon of a raised hand. Then you would click that image of the hand. Then you will get on the line to ask questions. But only when I say it's time for questions. Okay, so let us begin with the homage to the Buddha. And today's date is July 11th, 2020. So we'll begin with homage to the Buddha. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Okay, again, I have to ask everybody to make sure that you are muted. Otherwise, we get a feedback sound and it ruins the recording. And also it disturbs other people trying to listen. Okay, so now we have been going through the Anguttara Nikaya Book of Fours, taking selective suttas. And we're in the chapter, we're actually in the second set of 50s, the second 50. And this is a section on streams of merit. And we did one sutta on the streams of merit last week, the first one. Now we come to the second sutta on streams of merit. And last week I explained what is meant by merit. But just to repeat it, to repeat the essential point, what is meant by merit, or the Pali word is punya, is wholesome karma. So there's no real difference between merit and wholesome karma, except that the word merit sort of signifies or maybe emphasizes or underscores the capacity of wholesome karma to produce results that are beneficial to the one who performs those wholesome activities. And so the results of merit, the sort of the outflows of merit, can be mundane or worldly. So that would be things like long life, good health, good education, physical beauty, strength, prosperity, success in undertakings. And we might have a group of people start a business more or less under the same conditions, and they put in the same amount of effort, they have the same set of skills, but one person succeeds, the other people not so successful. Why does the person succeed? From a Buddhist perspective, we would say that this is the outcome of their merits. Well, like in the entertainment industry, we have probably lots of people with singing talents, with musical talents, and sort of upcoming young pop musical stars. But like 99.9% of them don't get beyond maybe performing in local clubs. But one person out of this 100 aspiring pop music singers comes right into the spotlight and becomes a national and global star. Somebody like Taylor Swift. I mean, I don't know that much about her, but I just see a lot of information, reports about her. So how does she get, I think that there are probably 99 other singers with the same talents, but maybe it's through some extraordinary merits from the past that propels her into the spotlight where she becomes the global singing star and the others just remain at a local level. Or maybe football players, a lot of them try out for the team, and well, a lot of them are players, but one out of the 100 becomes the superstar that everybody is talking about, that football player. So wonderful, they all love him. And the other players are just, their skills are acknowledged, but they don't become a popular national hero. So these are just some of the mundane goods that come through the fruition of merit. And it doesn't mean that they were Buddhas in a past life performing meritorious deeds as Buddhas, but they must have done something wholesome in a past life that generated the merit that has brought them this fame and honor and popularity. So these are some of the mundane or worldly benefits that come from merit. And then there is the super worldly or super mundane or transcendent attainment of enlightenment and liberation. So whether one becomes fully enlightened Buddha, Shaker Buddha, chief disciples. Why does Sariputta and Moggallana become the chief disciples, whereas other Arhat disciples, just they have the status of Arhats, but not appointed to the position of the Buddha's chief disciples? It's because of difference in merit. Of course, to reach any achievement, any lofty attainment, requires a great accumulation of merits. In the case of the supramundane attainments, the merits are generated by the practice of the paramis or paramitas. Okay, and then depending on the differences and the quantity of the merits, the duration of time over which the merits are accumulated, the qualitative differences in the merits, there will come the differences between the fully enlightened Buddha, the Sammasambuddha, the Pacceka Buddha, who is enlightened privately and personally, but doesn't become a world teacher, and then such arhats as the chief disciples, great disciples, and so forth. And I should mention, among the mundane or worldly results of merit would be a heavenly rebirth, a rebirth under good conditions in the human realm. So all of this depends upon merit. So the Buddha says, again, it's in the Anguttara Nikaya, I think the Book of Sevens. He says, don't look lightly on merit, thinking, I am practicing vipassana meditation, or I am becoming a learned disciple of the Buddha. I don't have to think about these merits, which are just for ordinary people. But the Buddha says merit is the foundation of happiness. Merit is the foundation of well-being. Merit is what sustains us, supports us as we make the transition from one life to the next. Okay, so in this sutta, the Buddha is going to speak about 4 streams of merit. And the expression that he uses here, actually it's interesting, these expressions. I don't think I dealt with these last week, but let's take a look at them. So we take the whole sentence. So he speaks about them as streams of merit. The Pali word here is abhisanda. So the merit it's a very interesting image. Merit is something that flows, that sort of keeps in motion. It's like a stream that carries us along. We generate it in the mind and it flows within the mind and carries us and supports us. And then it's called kusala bisanda. So this shows that kusala here is virtually a synonym for punya. So kusala, I would say the word kusala, which I translate as wholesome, emphasizes maybe the psychological and spiritual impact of engaging in wholesome deeds, the way these deeds contribute to the health of the mind, to the purification of the mind. Whereas the word punya, though technically a synonym, emphasizes the capacity of those wholesome deeds to produce desirable results. And then the merit is called nutriments of happiness, sukasa ahara. Normally the word ahara refers to food, the food that we eat, which nourishes the body. But here these meritorious deeds are seen as nourishing happiness, as bringing along happiness. In fact, the word that's translated as nutriment comes from the verb aharati, which means to bring along, in the sense of maybe to sustain. And so food is called a nutriment because it brings along the body. It enables the body to continue on, to carry on. And so the meritorious deeds are what nourish happiness, which bring happiness. And then they're called sovagika, which is an adverb based on the Pali word saga, or Sanskrit svarga. So leading to heaven, to a heavenly rebirth. Sukha vipaka, they ripen in happiness. Saga sangvatanika, they lead to heaven, almost the same in meaning as sovagika. And then they lead to what is wished for, desired, agreeable, to well-being and happiness. So those are the most important thing. We want to be well, we want to be happy. So the way to be well and happy is by performing meritorious deeds. Of course, merit alone is not sufficient, but sometimes we speak about the two supports, the two accumulations, the two things that sustain us. One is punya, and the other is jnana. Jnana is, maybe it could be translated as knowledge, but it's not just intellectual knowledge, but it's the kind of knowledge that is based on wisdom. And so to achieve any kind of higher spiritual attainment, whether as a Buddha, Pacceka Buddha, an Arahat disciple, one needs the two accumulations, I think the Chinese is 自量. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes, that's right,
Yeah.
correct. Yeah. 资粮.
Yeah, 自量. So one needs merit, which is what leads to good, again, like long life, good health, beauty, strength, and so on. And the accumulation of knowledge is what flourishes in wisdom, in deep wisdom. Okay, so now the Buddha is going to speak about 4 streams of merit. But this is where these particular streams of merit are reserved for the noble disciples, those who have achieved the minimum status of sotapanna, of stream enterer. So these are the streams of merit particular to the noble disciples, but it doesn't mean that they're completely beyond our range as practices and aspirations. But these are also, we could say that the sutta is pointing to practices that we can cultivate that will generate for ourselves streams of merit, maybe not with the same degree of strength, of purity, of power, as in the case of the noble disciples, but these will be for ourselves factors that build up the accumulations of merit that would help us not only with our mundane benefits, but in this case, particularly laying the foundation for the world transcending benefits. Okay, so the first 3 will be unwavering confidence in the 3 jewels, the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. And the key expression here is what is translated as unwavering confidence. But this is my translation, but let us look at the Pali expression. Okay, the Pali term that's used here in the stem form is avecha plus pasada. And a few weeks ago, we spoke about sutta number, I think it was 34, which explained the foremost types of confidence. And those were confidence in the Buddha as the supreme person, in Nibbana as being the foremost of all dharmas, the Noble Eightfold Path as being the foremost of conditioned dharmas, and then the Buddha's Aryan Sangha, community of noble ones, as being the foremost of spiritual communities. And so in that class, I explained the meaning of pasada, which we translate as confidence, but it also has the sense of confidence, trust. The Pali for trust uses the word kapana, yeah. Or a kind of clarity of mind and a kind of self-surrender. So these are some of the aspects of pasada. But the important word here is avecha, which is what is translated in the Anguttara Nikaya, what I translated as, did I say unwavering? So avecha pasada, unwavering confidence. But in the Samyutta Nikaya, I use the translation for avecha pasada as confirmed confidence. which might be more literal and more accurate. So what is this word, avecha? Okay, so avecha is I'm speaking now for those who know Pali, it's an absolutive of the verb aveti. But this is the way I would understand it, and I think the correct explanation. An absolutive of the verb of aveti, which comes from the prefix ava, which gives the sense of under, and eti, to come or to go. So aveti means almost literally to undergo, in the sense of to undergo an experience. And so this is, in this case, it's to undergo the experience of seeing the truth of the Dhamma. And so when one has undergone that experience, then we have the absolutive having undergone. So this is confidence that arises by having undergone the experience of seeing into the truth of the Dhamma, breaking through, at least temporarily, having broken through the mist and clouds of ignorance and delusion. One sees, at least when the clouds clear, a fleeting vision of the sun shining in the sky. So one sees that truth of the Dhamma. And so even when the clouds come back, one knows that the sun is there. And so one doesn't have to depend on the weatherman to tell you the sun is shining behind the clouds, because one has seen the sun, one knows that it is there. So with this, one has seen the truth of the Dhamma, and so one has this, what I call confirmed confidence in the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. And this confirmed confidence is said to be unshakable. And so that's why it's translated as unwavering. So this is the explanations that are given in some of the commentaries. The suttas themselves don't give a verbal explanation of avecha pasada, but they just enumerate what are the factors in this avecha pasada. But it's in the commentaries that we find some explanation. So the commentary to the Majjhima Nikaya, I think it's the commentary to Sutta number 7. It says that it is so it explains, it uses these words achalena or achala. Achala means unshakable, and achuta means unperishable. So it's confidence that is unshakable or imperishable, and it's based on having known as they are, having known correctly, accurately, the virtues, the good qualities, the excellent qualities, the gunas. Guna in Chinese, this is gongde. Having known those excellent qualities of the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. So that's the explanation in the Majjhima commentary. The Sangyutta Nikaya commentary, it glosses avecha pasada simply with achala pasada. That means unshakable confidence. And then it says that even though this takes 3 objects, Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, it says that it is still in nature, it's singlefold. And so it is the confidence that is reached by means of the Magga, and that is specifically the Arya Magga. by means of the noble path. So when one develops the path, and then when one develops the factors of the Noble Eightfold Path, at a certain point one reaches the world-transcending path. And with that, one sees into the truth of the Dhamma, and thereby one gains this confidence, this trust that can never be shaken. Even if 1,000,000 people come and say, how could you believe in the Dharma, the Buddha's teaching? It's just a bundle of superstitions. Get real, man. We're living in the 21st century. That confidence, that trust cannot be dented because one has seen the Dhamma, penetrated the Dhamma, and one knows that the Dhamma is real and true. And when this unshakable confidence, though in essence it's one, based on the vision of the truth, but when it looks to its objects, it becomes threefold, according to the teacher, the teaching itself, and those who are committed to the teacher and the teaching, that is the Sangha. And so first, now the Buddha explains, by way of the three jewels, he begins with the unwavering confidence in the Buddha. And then this confidence in the Buddha, of course, it's just one fold, taking the Buddha as object, but the way it's expounded in the suttas is by way of the 9 special virtues or qualities of the Buddha. I think I've gone through these in the past, but doesn't help to review them. It doesn't hurt to review them. It's helpful to review them. So the Buddha, or Blessed One, is said to be first an arahat. So the word arahat means literally one who is worthy of reverence and offerings. And the sense of arahat, the word was used even before the time of the Buddha in other religious systems apart from Buddhism. So even today, the Jains refer to their saints as arahats. So they say, Namo, I think it goes, Namo Jinanang, Namo Siddhanang, Namo Arahantanang. Homage to the conquerors, homage to the accomplished ones, homage to the arahats. So the word arahat, the sense, the implication of the word arahat is one who has eradicated all the mental defilements, all of the kilesas, all the afflictions, who has cut off all of the fetters and has thereby become fully purified in mind. No more taints or defilements of the mind. And by cutting off all of the bonds and fetters, one who is completely free from the cycle of birth and death. One who lives bearing his or her final body. So a perfectly liberated one. So that is an arahat. And of course, the Buddha was an arahat himself, and he had many arahat disciples. So this quality, arahat, is not unique to the Buddha, but the next one is, this is Samma Sambuddho, one who is perfectly enlightened, one who is understood fully, impeccably, completely the nature of all dharmas, all phenomena. Then accomplished vijacharana sampanno, accomplished in true, actually, if something is knowledge, it has to be true, but I use maybe a better word is clear knowledge. So accomplished in clear knowledge and excellent conduct. And the commentaries explain the clear knowledge by way of the standard list of 3 kinds of vijja: the recollection of past lives, the knowledge of the passing away and rebirth of beings, the knowledge of the destruction of the defilements. And then the good conduct, excellent conduct, is explained by way of 15 aspects of good conduct. We don't have to be concerned with the details, but we could just say that it's excellent moral conduct and mastery of the ways of the mind. Then the Buddha is said to be, here it's translated fortunate, but the Pali word is sukata, which literally means well gone. So it's said that the Buddha has gone along the good path, which is the Noble Eightfold Path, and reached the good goal, which is Nibbana. And so because he's gone along the good path to the good goal, he is the Sugata, the one who has well gone. He is knower of the world, and this we can understand at 2 different levels. He is the knower of the world in that he knows the different realms of existence, the different planes of existence, and knows the different karmas that lead to those different realms of existence. So he's the knower of the objective world, we could say, the knower of the cosmos with all the different planes of existence, from the hell realms to the realm of the hungry ghosts or tormented spirits, the animal realm, the human realm, and the many heavenly realms. But he's also the knower of the world in the sense that he knows the sentient beings that constitute the world. He can send his mind out over the world, and he knows the mind streams of the different beings. So he could see into the minds of people, see very deeply, very clearly, and know exactly how to teach them, how to guide them, to lead them up from delusion and ignorance and suffering, to lead them to freedom, to wisdom, to enlightenment. And so by knowing the world, the Buddha becomes the supreme trainer of persons to be tamed. Even the most difficult people, the most stubborn people, people like the classical case is Angulimala, who was a serial killer, some Brahmins who came to the Buddha very proud and arrogant, some outcasts who came full of self-loathing and self-degradation because of their low social status, princes and kings, whatever the conditions of people, the Buddha will know exactly how to train them and tame them and lead them forward. And thus he becomes the teacher of the devas, the deities and human beings. And again, he's the enlightened one, but not only enlightened himself, but also we could say what's implied here is the enlightener, the one who enlightens others, who shines the light of his wisdom upon others and illuminates their minds with wisdom. And then he is the blessed one. And what's implied here is the possession of countless excellent and wonderful qualities that make the Buddha worthy of being regarded as the supreme teacher. Okay, so the first stream of merit is for a noble disciple possessing unwavering, unshakable confidence, trust in the Buddha based on these 9 qualities. But to generate a stream of merit, we don't have to think, or we shouldn't think, we have to be noble disciples, but we could practice the recollection of the Buddha, the meditation system, method that's called Buddhanusati. And when we practice this meditation method, calling to mind, reflecting on these 9 attributes of the Buddha, turning them over again and again in the mind, we do so not just as a mechanical exercise, but what I say is that when we practice recollection of the Buddha, we have to generate, along with the recollection, certain mental states that I call first. Sometimes these states unfold in a sequence. So we have esteem for the Buddha based on these qualities. Esteem leads to admiration. Admiration leads to deep respect or veneration. And deep veneration leads to devotion. Devotion to the Buddha as the supreme teacher. So we could say that all of these are qualities that are sort of wrapped up under the designation of confidence or trust, pasada. And so when we build up this esteem, admiration, veneration, and devotion by recollecting the virtues, the qualities of the Buddha, we are generating a very deep source of joy and happiness in the mind, and that joy and happiness is generating this stream of merit, very powerful, wholesome karma that will bring along beneficial results in the future. So that is the first stream of merit. Okay, then the second stream of merit is this unwavering confidence in the Dharma. And so the Dhamma, the formula for recollecting the Dhamma, has 6 qualities, 6 gonda, 6 virtues. First, the Dhamma is said to be well expounded by the Blessed One. And this refers specifically to the verbal teaching of the Buddha. The teaching as preserved within the scriptures, within the suttas. So that teaching is well expounded because when you read the suttas, you could see how clear they are, how realistic, how faithful to reality, how pure, free from praise of himself, criticism of others, and how practical the teaching is. So these are things one could see by studying the teaching. And when one studies the teaching in a rather systematic way, it generates, let's not speak of unwavering confidence, but it generates that initial confidence and trust in the Dhamma. Okay, but as one undertakes the practice, then one starts to see benefits from the practice. At the practice, it's not you just believe the teaching and then you get the benefits pie in the sky when you die. But as you practice, you start to see immediate benefits. So even you take the precepts, the 5 precepts, if you haven't been following them, you undertake them, and you see that your life becomes so much easier. Of course, there are challenges in observing the precepts, but you have a clear conscience in all of one's activities, that one knows one is not harming others. And so that brings a kind of joy. And as one undertakes the deeper practices to purify the mind of lust, hate, conceit, restlessness, and so on, you see that your mind becomes brighter, clearer, more peaceful in one's everyday life. And so one sees that the Dhamma is directly visible. And the benefits come right here and now. Again, it's not struggling with afflicting oneself with pain and misery to get the results in the future, but one gets the benefits, they're immediate. Of course, it doesn't mean that you just expect all of the highest results to come within a few days of practice or a few weeks, but it's a gradual, step-by-step path. But as one practices, one starts to see immediate benefits. And those immediate benefits become stronger, deeper, more powerful, the longer one practices. The greater the commitments, the greater the consistency and continuity. Okay, then for this reason, the Dhamma is said to be, this is an interesting expression. Let us look at the Pali. Yeah, so the word translated inviting one to come and see is ehi pasiko, which it combines 2 imperatives. One is ehi, which means it's like if I want to say to invite somebody, I say to a meal, I say ehi, punjahi, come, eat. But here it's saying ehi, come, and pasa is see, come, see. So it's saying to people who approach it out of curiosity or interest, come and see for yourself. Don't just rely on blind belief, blind faith, but come and try it. If I bake a cake, then I offer it. And don't just take my word that the cake is delicious, but I slice up the cake and I say, come, taste it. And in this case, the Buddha sort of carves up the Dharma and says, come, whatever is of interest to you, take up that little bit and try it out, experiment with it, investigate it, see if it works. And then the next, this is the Burmese spelling, but I think Upannayiko. I think in the Sri Lankan text it's Upannayiko. So this is based on, this word is based on the verb upanneti, which means to approach. And then there's a noun from this. Upannayana, approaching. And so the original intention, I have to say, it's not so clear from the word itself. So some translators have rendered Upanayaka to mean leading onward, and they say that it has this meaning that what's intended by this expression is leading onward to Nibbana. And I think that explanation is also given in some commentaries, but I'm not so sure that I agree with that explanation, because there's another word which indicates more exactly what leads on to liberation, to Nibbana. That's Niyanika, which comes from the verb ya, which means to go out, or ya, which means to go, and near, which means out. So Niyanika is what leads out from samsara to Nibbana. But upanayana is bringing near to oneself. So the meaning that I derive from it, the way I interpret it, is applicable. So it's saying you take the Dhamma and you bring it near to yourself by applying it to yourself. So that's why I render applicable. And then the next virtue is indicated by these three words together. Pachatang veti tabo vinyu hi. So the key word is veti tabo, which means to be realized, to be known, to be understood. And the way it's to be understood is pachatang, which means personally. Like if I understand it, I have to understand it for myself. It's not enough that you understand it and then I trust you and think you are a very wise, good person, so I take it on trust from you. But rather, of course, if I trust you, and you're really reliable, that's good in itself. But to get the full benefit from the Dhamma, I have to realize it. I have to experience it. I have to understand it. And that has to be done pachatang, for myself, by myself. And the ones who are going to understand it, not just any ordinary foolish person, but it's the ones who can understand it, are the wise people, intelligent people. So that's why we say, Pachatang vedi tabo vinyu hi. The Dhamma is to be realized, to be understood, to be known by the wise, each one for themselves. You for yourself, me for myself. Okay, so those are the virtues of the Dhamma. And the noble disciple, the one who has reached the stage of stream entry or the higher stages, has unwavering confidence in the Dhamma, because the stream enterer, the higher ones, have seen the Dhamma with their inner eye of wisdom. So the confidence is unwavering. So we ourselves, not yet stream enterers, we cultivate this confidence in the Dhamma by practicing the meditation. It's called Dhammanusati, recollection of the Dhamma. So this is one of the meditation objects. So we turn the qualities of the Dhamma over and over in the mind, beginning with the 6 qualities mentioned here. You just take well expounded, directly visible, immediate, common see, applicable, to be experienced by the wise. And then as one goes on practicing, it may be that 2 or 3 qualities stand out, the others less meaningful to us. And so we drop the other qualities and just stick with 2 or 3 qualities. And in that way, we strengthen the power of concentration, at the same time generating stronger faith, confidence, and devotion to the Dhamma. Okay, the third object of unwavering confidence is the Sangha. And what's meant here is not the monastic order, but it's said to be the 4 pairs of persons, the 8 individuals, the 8 types of individuals. So who are these 4 pairs of persons? I think I'm sure that I've mentioned these again and again, but we just go through them again. So we have the 4 stages, call these the 4 stages of realization, 4 stages of enlightenment. The stream enterer, the lowest stage, who has seen the truth of the Dhamma and has at most 7 more lives. The once returner, who has weakened greed, hate, and delusion, and generally 1 more existence, but it could be 2. This gets a bit complicated. I won't go into the details. Let's just leave it as a once returner. The stream enterer has eliminated the 3 coarsest fetters: the view of self, clinging to rules and rituals, and doubt. The once returner weakens greed, hatred, and delusion. Then comes the non-returner, who cuts off sensual desire and aversion or ill will, and is reborn in a higher realm, either in the form realm or the formless realm. And then the 4th is the arhat, who cuts off the residual defilements, especially craving and ignorance. Where is the arhat reborn? Where is the arhat reborn? Nowhere.
Not reborn.
So the arhat is free from rebirth entirely. Okay, so those are the 4 main stages. But for each stage, let's say in the attainment of each stage, there are 2 phases. One is the stage of path. One has entered the path that leads irreversibly to the attainment of that stage. One is not yet on that stage, but a certain inner transformation takes place. So the mind is now moving towards the attainment of that stage and has to realize that stage within this life itself. So it's said that the person on the path cannot pass away without realizing the fruit. So we have the stage of the path, and I'm speaking in sutta terms, not the Abhidhamma conception of the one mind moment path. But this is a path extended in time that the disciple has to continue to practice over some time. It could be days, weeks, maybe even months. And then when the cultivation of the path reaches the peak of maturity, then there comes the attainment of the stage itself, which is called the fruit or fruition. So in Pali, this distinction is called magga phala, the path and the fruit. And so we have four persons, four stages, each distinguished into two: a person on the path to that stage and the person who has realized the fruit, who is on that stage itself. And so coming back to our formula, you can see the four pairs. And then when one breaks up those pairs by way of path attainer and the realizer of the fruit, you get 8 types of individuals. So that is the noble Sangha, the Aryan Sangha. And then the formula describes that noble Sangha in different ways. So it's supatipanno, practicing the good way or of good practice. Ujjupatipanno, practicing in a honest, straight way, not a crooked or deviant way. Nyayapatipanno, practicing a way that is based on wisdom, practicing in a way that involves the true method, the method that has been determined by wisdom or knowledge. And Samicipatipanno, practicing in the proper way. So there are subtle differences in these descriptions, but in my own mind, I don't really dwell very much on those differences. And then this Sangha of the 4 pairs, the 8 individuals, is said to be ahuneo, worthy of gifts, pahuneo, worthy of hospitality, dakineo, worthy of offerings. I have to say, I don't see any real difference in meaning between being worthy of offerings and worthy of gifts. But these were words that were used in India during the Buddha's time. They actually come out of the Brahminic, the Vedic tradition. And so the Buddha is picking up those expressions and then utilizing them within his own system. Then they're worthy of reverential salutation. That is what we call in Pali Anjali, joining the palms, putting the palms up either to the chest or to the forehead to show respect. And then the Sangha is called the unsurpassed field of merit for the world. So that's because the Sangha is worthy of gifts, worthy of offerings, and so on. So when one makes gifts and offerings, supports and helps the Sangha, then that generates a vast amount of merits. And so this is, again, it's spelled out as a formula, but it can be done as a meditation practice. The way I find to do this, the simplest way, not to dwell too much on all of these descriptive terms, but what I do is take a picture, and you can find these on the internet, of the Buddha preaching the Dhamma with a large number of monks and nuns in front of him, and then sometimes with Sariputta and Moggallana on the side, and then sort of visualize that Sangha receiving the instructions from the Buddha. And then one just can choose any of these descriptive terms: practicing the good way, practicing the straight way, practicing the true way, whatever one finds useful, and then turning that over and over in the mind in order to generate esteem, admiration, veneration, and devotion towards the noble Sangha. Okay, so now we've covered 3 streams of merit. Then the 4th stream of merit is possessing the let's look at the Pali. So the key word here in that expression is well, this is the instrumental, but sila, it's a plural, silehi. So it's a plural form, and it's indicating, the way I understand it, often we say the pancha sila, which we say to be the 5 precepts. But the word sila doesn't actually mean precepts, but it means the virtuous qualities of conduct corresponding to the precepts. The precepts themselves, the word for precept is sikapada, which means pada is a factor, an element, a constituent, and sika is training. So the 5, what we call the Panchasila, the 5 precepts, are actually the 5 sikapada, the 5 factors of training. But observing or undertaking these 5 factors of training regulates our conduct, our behavior, in accordance with the guidelines laid down in the factor of training. And so when I take panati pata veramani sikapadang, you see sikapadang, the training factor. Panati pata veramani sikapadang samadhiyami. I undertake that training rule to abstain from the destruction of life. So when I'm observing that training rule, then my conduct, my behavior is a sila, the sila of good conduct involving harmlessness or non-killing towards living beings. And so when I do adina dana veramani sikapadang samadhiyami, I undertake the training rule to abstain from taking what is not given, to abstain from stealing. So then I become endowed with the virtue, the good quality of not stealing. When I take the training rule, kamesu michachara veramani sikapadang samadhiyami, to abstain from sexual misconduct. So I take the precept, the training rule, and in this way I become endowed with the good conduct, the good behavior of not engaging in sexual misconduct. And similarly with abstaining from false speech, I take the training rule, the precept, and then my sila becomes that of not telling lies. And then I take the precept to avoid the use of intoxicants. And so my behavior, my conduct, is that of one who avoids indulging in intoxicants. And so in this way, one becomes possessed of these types of good conduct, these types of good behavior. And these types of behavior are said to be Arya Kantehi. They are beloved by the noble ones. This is what the Aryan persons esteem and love. And one observes these precepts, they're unbroken. Let's see the translations that are used. Okay, unbroken, without any cuts or holes, so they're flawless, unblemished, unblotched. Pujisehi, which means that they lead to freedom. And the word pujisa would be a free person in the Buddha's time, in contrast to a dasa, to a slave. So when a slave is liberated, they move from the state of being a dasa to a pujisa, to a free person. So observing these training rules and being endowed with these virtues free one from bondage to killing, stealing, and so forth. Then these types of conduct are, of course, they're praised by wise people. And then this is important, one does not grasp upon them. It doesn't cling to them as a basis for conceit and pride and vanity. One observes them, but with a free mind as natural modes of good conduct. And then the purpose of observing these types of good conduct is samadhi sangvatanika, that they lead to samadhi. So the sila becomes a stage leading to samadhi. So that is the fourth stream of merit. And so that is the virtuous behavior of the noble disciple. So even if we don't have these perfect, unbroken, flawless observance of the silas, but we can practice undertaking them every day and making the determination to observe them to the best of our ability. And in this way, we are laying the foundation for reaching the stage of a noble one, whereby we become possessed of the unbroken, flawless virtues of the noble ones. Okay, so that is the text of the sutta. We'll just take a quick look at the verse, then I'll take some questions. Okay, first it starts off, and you could also look at the Pali alongside this. Okay, so when one has saddha, which is faith in the Tathagata and the Buddha, and that faith here is called achala, which means unshakable, and it's supatitita, well established. And then one has sila, which is the good conduct, good behavior, which is described as kalyana, excellent or good. And it's beloved or dear to the noble ones, and it's praised by the noble ones. And then towards the Sangha, one has pasada. Pasada is confidence in the Sangha. Interesting that the verse has saddha in the Tathagata. So one has faith in the Tathagata because saddha implies some belief, believing what one is told. And so towards the Buddha as the teacher, one has saddha in that one believes what the Buddha teaches. But the Sangha, one doesn't have saddha in the Sangha, or it seems to me, because the Sangha is not the ones who originate the teaching, but the teaching originates from the Buddha. But one has confidence or trust in the Sangha because one is impressed by the good conduct, the deportment, the manner, the virtues of the members of the Sangha. And then one has dasana. Dasana is insight, vision, seeing the truth. And this seeing is said to be ujjubbuta. It's honest, straightforward, clear seeing of the truth. And so I think the clear or direct seeing here brings in the confidence in the Dhamma, unwavering confidence in the Dhamma. So when one has this in Buddha, Dhamma through dasana, through seeing, Sangha, and then sila. So one has the four streams of merit. Then it's said that one's life, one is not poor, one is rich, one is wealthy, and one's life has not been lived in vain. If one has these four things, then one has a worthy life, a valuable life. And so therefore, it says an intelligent person remembering the Buddha's teaching should be intent on faith, though it's meant by faith in the Buddha, sila, good conduct, confidence in the Sangha, and Dhamma dasana, the seeing of the Dhamma. Okay, so that is the sutta. So let us try to take some questions. Okay, I take them in the order in which the hands are raised. So we have Gita. You can unmute your microphone.
Good morning, Bhante. Thank you
Good
for
morning.
teaching us the Dhamma. Can you tell me what's the sutta number in Anguttara Nikaya? The sutra number?
This one?
Yep.
Wow, you should have the text in front of you. It's 52.
Yeah, I can't see because I'm on my iPhone. So 52. Thank you very much, Bhante. That was it. Thank you.
Okay. Quick. I like the quick questions. Okay, Olivia. Olivia, you can unmute. Okay, go ahead.
Hello, Bhikkhu Bodhi. Thank you for taking the question. Mine is more of a question on curiosity. In holding the attributes of the Buddha and the qualities of the Dhamma and the Sangha while chanting the salutation, is there a specific reference to the Buddha being self-enlightened versus just enlightened, as we practice towards the fourth stream, which is training against the teachings? I just wondered if there's a reference to him being the discoverer of the path.
Yeah, I think that's implied, of course, by Samma Sambuddha.
Okay.
Yeah, that only the Buddha is called Samma Sambuddha. And what's implied there is that he is the one who discovers the path and knows it in its entirety and makes it known to others.
Okay, thank you.
Those who follow the teaching, they become, we could even use the word Buddha or Sambuddha in reference to them, in the sense that they become enlightened too, but not Samma Sambuddha. Samma Sambuddha, the word Samma means perfectly or completely, and that refers only to the Buddha, who is the teacher, the Tathagata.
Okay, so then in the chant, the word perfectly is synonymous with self.
No.
Perfectly self. No.
Yeah, I've seen some translations of of some Buddha as self-enlightened, and that's based on a commentary, which I don't actually agree with.
Okay,
Wait,
thank you, Bhikkhu.
let me just show with my sketch scrap paper. Okay, so the Samma some Buddha, then the commentary explains some here by an adverb samang, which means by oneself or for oneself. So it says some Buddha means samang Buddha, enlightened by oneself, for oneself. But I think that's just a word play.
Okay.
And I think the prefix some just gives a sense of fullness, but it doesn't really mean by oneself or for oneself. Because then we have a word, passa means contact. And then there's another word, sampassa, which is the same word for contact, just with the prefix some, which really, they're virtually identical in meaning.
Okay.
The
Thank you
prefix
so
some
much.
is just an intensifier. It doesn't really mean self.
Thank you, Bhikkhu Bodhi.
Okay, next is Namal. Or Namal?
Thank you for taking my question, Bhante. You mentioned Buddhanusati, Dhammanusati. I have also seen Buddhanupassana, Dhammanupassana mentioned in books. Are they the same, or is there a subtle difference when it comes to practicing Buddhanusati, Dhammanusati?
I've never heard of Buddhanupassana or Sanghanupassana. I don't think that's correct. I don't think it's I don't think it's canonical at all. There is a Dhammanupassana, but that is the fourth of the four Satipatthanas, the fourth foundation of mindfulness. It's not the same as recollection of the Dhamma.
I see. So we should only use the Buddhanusati.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Bhante.
Okay, Matthew.
Thank you for taking my question. I have a question about the Aveka Pasada.
It's Avecha. It's the. See,
I'm sorry,
yeah.
Avecha Pasada.
Yeah.
So for those of us who are beginning to sort of move towards confidence in these teachings, and maybe we've seen the positive results,
yeah,
or maybe other people have noticed them in us even. We live in a world where there are lots of teachings and gurus that have turned out to be, sexual predators or abusers or frauds. So as a result, sometimes it's easier to, in certain companies, sort of avoid specific references to Buddhist teachings, or maybe fall back on talking about like mindfulness or yoga or things like that. Do you think that that's sort of like unethical to, if we find real true value in this, to sort of avoid specific references in certain companies, like with neighbors or coworkers or professional acquaintances or something like that?
I'm not quite sure that I understand the question. You mean if one is, say, taking up the practice of, say, some mindfulness practice, yes, and one wants to share it with others? Or others
are asking us about it?
I think one could explain without having to, to track it down to the Buddha's teaching. If one finds it beneficial, one could share it with others, without having to say, this comes from Buddhism. But if one wants to present the teaching as an organic whole, then of course one would bring in a lot of other aspects of the Buddha's teaching, and should then give credit to the source.
Sure.
But one can explain sort of basic mindfulness practices, or even things like the metta, loving kindness meditation. It could be taught outside of all religious contexts, or in the context of other religions, which also cherish love towards, at least towards humanity. Does that catch the question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay, Daniel. Good to see you here.
Thank you, Bhante. Yeah, good to see you too. Thank you very much for the lesson.
Yeah.
My question is regarding the distinction you made between the path and the fruit to each one of the 4 stages of enlightenment.
Yeah.
And specifically regarding the requirements for being on the path to stream enterer, because for attaining the fruit, I know that the requirements are having cut the 3 lower fetters. But I was wondering, what are I think it's mentioned somewhere in the suttas, what are the requirements for having stepped on the path towards stream entry?
Yeah, okay. There are 4 factors that are said to be factors that lead to stream entry. One finds these in the Anguttara Nikaya, that's in chapter 55, towards the end of that chapter. So the 4 factors that lead to stream entry are associating with good people, with good and wise people. These would be those who can teach the Dhamma properly. So that's the first. The second is Saddhamma Savana, listening to the good Dhamma. So learning the Dhamma.
Mm-hmm.
Then the third is Yoniso Manasikara, that's wise reflection. And then the fourth is Dhammanudhamma Patipatti, that is practicing in accordance with the Dhamma. That would be practicing, observing precepts, developing samadhi, developing insight. Yeah, so those would be the 4 factors conducive to stream entry.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Thank you.
Okay, Dayani?
Yes, Bante, thank you for taking my question. It's very short one, Bante. Can we ask question by email?
I like to avoid that if possible, because then I get overwhelmed by emails.
Okay, that's all, Bante. Thank you very much.
Okay, Babalo?
Yeah, hello, Bodhi.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan. I can't tell you how many times I've read In the Words of Buddha. I have it on audio repeat. My question is, thank you for taking my question. The Anguttara, when is it going to come out on Audible?
This I believe that Wisdom Publications is having the different Nikayas put onto audio or Audible. It'll take time, I guess, but that's really for the publisher. I don't have concern with that.
Oh, okay.
But I think that they've done the Majjhima. I think they have somebody with a good voice. They sent me a sample. Is doing the Samyutta Nikaya now. Then I guess after that he'll do the Anguttara Nikaya.
That's amazing. I have one more question about hunting, if you don't mind. I have 2 dogs. I feed them kibble, but it dawns on me that is it okay if I go hunting and I use that meat to feed my dogs, or is it?
Bad karma? You kill the animal when you go hunting?
Yeah.
No, that would be breaking the precept.
Oh, okay, but I'm feeding them dog food, which is someone's killing it. Is that okay?
Yeah. If you purchase the dog food in the store, then it's okay. But don't kill the animal yourself.
Okay. Oh, thank you so much.
Okay, Chammi. Okay, Jennifer C.
Greetings, Bante. So today you mentioned Buddha Nusati, Dhamma Nusati, and Sangha Nusati. It seems that Buddha Nusati is what's most commonly taught.
Yeah.
But when would one practice one versus the other?
How would one say the question again?
Of those 3,
yeah.
I guess when would one practice one versus the other? What are circumstances and or situations in which one may be more beneficial?
It would be whichever one has a natural preference for.
Mm-hmm.
Usually the one that's sort of most popular, because I think it's natural for people to have a devotion towards a person. And so the one that's most popular is the Buddha Nusati.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but if the mind inclines towards one of the others, one could choose whichever one.
Right. So it isn't like the 40 different samatha practices. For example, Anapanasati is for those that have very scattered minds, right?
Yeah.
Metta, let's say, is for those with strong anger. So these 3 nusatis are really just whichever your mind tends to incline towards.
Exactly.
They don't necessarily deal with a specific defilement.
No.
Okay. Thank you, Bante.
Okay.
Can I come in?
Who is this?
This is Chammi.
Oh, okay.
The first question I have, is it okay?
You have to ask one question. Of course,
okay.
Other people, and I'm going to have to go up in 5 minutes. I'll have to go up for lunch.
Is it okay if we record your meditation session?
Yeah, no problem.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, then James.
Yes, hello, Bante. So if you could kind of repeat the distinction in the word Samasambuddha, because there was a reference earlier to, and pardon me if I paraphrase, but that obviously one has to do the work oneself. One has to be self-enlightened in that sense. Of course, we're traveling on the right path and associating with good people, getting good teaching. But is there I'm only a beginning Pali student. Is there part of the word Samasambuddho that means the first somehow? the first self-enlightened person. So
No.
okay. That was just a quick question.
Okay. Lim King Hung.
Bhante, yeah, good morning.
Good morning.
I just want to ask, when we do the reflection on the three Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, is it advisable to do it after meditation sitting or before?
Usually we do it at the early part of the session. For example, if one's main meditation subject, say, is mindfulness of breathing, then sort of to prepare the mind, to soften the mind, one could do a brief reflection either on one of the three jewels or going through all three of them. So when I have the session on Wednesday evening, we do as a chanting, we do the chanting of the formulas for the three jewels. Then we go into either mindfulness of breathing or loving kindness meditation.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, one last question, Paul Hui.
Bhante, about these 4 streams of merit, particular to the noble disciples, do they come automatically after one becomes a stream enterer? Since the 4 kinds of competence are all there once one has achieved the stream entry.
Yeah, they would come automatically.
So one doesn't need to do anything after one has become a stream.
I would think, first I would think that in order to become a stream enterer, one would have to begin with, one doesn't have the avecca pasada, but one begins with pasada. This would be the confidence in the Buddha. Of course, one is taking the Buddha as one's teaching. One is taking the Dhamma one is taking the Buddha as one's teacher. One is taking the Dhamma as the teaching that one follows, the path that one practices. And one looks to the Sangha with respect and veneration. And one is observing at least the 5 precepts. So one already has this, let's say, the inclination to the 4 types of unshakable, or the 3 types of unshakable confidence. And then when one realizes the path and fruit, then those types of unconfidence become unshakable, because one has seen that the Buddha is correct. One has seen that the Dhamma is the truth. One knows what the Sangha has realized. And so then they become unshakable. Okay?
You didn't call me. Can I ask you a question?
Who is that?
Vinu.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. I have this quick, rather complicated question. Related to Dhamma Vedana. Is it akaliko, epipasiko, opanaiko, pachatam, vedi, tabo, vinu, hiti? This Vinu, are they a group of people or individual or someone called Vinu? Are they Aryan?
It's not a specific group of people. It's just a general term. Like I use the expression wise people.
But are they Aryan or are they part of the Sangha?
It's not specified. Okay. But in the formula, Pachatang Vedi Tabo, it's not necessarily, in fact, probably it's not necessarily Aryans, because at this point, the Dhamma is to be realized by wise people. So this would be people who have the potential, have a wise temperament, but they haven't yet realized the Dhamma. Once they've realized the Dhamma, then they become an Aryan.
Okay, right. And the last question is related to the Buddha were able to see the quality of a person and that we're able to advise the person.
Yeah.
So why would Devadatta or Ajatasattu, why can't the Buddha able to change them?
I guess they were just too fixed in their
okay.
Just right. Fixed in their inclinations. The Buddha can't change everybody.
Bante, I tried to put the hand, but you never asked me.
I don't see the hand. Yeah.
Oh. May have one question, just short question.
Okay.
Can we use or the anakami? Does they cut off? You use sensual desire. Can we use cut off the lust instead of raga? Can we translate the word raga in Pali to be lust or sensual desire, which is better?
Well, actually, raga can be either kama raga.
Yeah, kama raga.
Yeah, kama raga is I would say sensual lust.
Oh, sensual lust, yeah.
Yeah, for desire, I would use chanda.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to have to go now, so we'll have to stop for the morning. And I'm just going to do a very short sharing of the merits. And I won't get to the file because that takes more time. Okay, so just direct your mind towards the sharing of the merits, and then I will chant. Akasata Chabumata Deva Naga Mahidika Punyantang Anamoditva Chirang Rakantu Sasanam. Akasata Chabumata Deva Naga Mahidika Punyantang Anamoditva Chirang Rakantu Desanam. Akasata Chabumata Deva Naga Mahidika Punyantang Anamoditva Chirang Rakantu Mang Parang. Etavatacham hehi sampadang punya sampadang sabbe deva anumodantu sabbe bhuta anumodantu sabbe satanumodantu sabba sampati siddhya bhavagopadaya vichihetato etantare satakayu papana rupya rupicha sanya sanino dukkha pumuchantu pusantu nibuting. Okay, then you say sadhu, sadhu,
Sadhu,
sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Okay, now important announcement that next week we will not be having a class. So the next class will be in 2 weeks. That is on July 25th. Okay, so thank you everybody for joining, and I hope you found
very much,
class
Bante.
useful.
Thank you, Bante.
Okay.
Thank you, Bante.
Thank you very much, Banteji.
Sadhu, sadhu.
Okay, so
Thank you, Bante.
Thank you, Bante.